I've decided to try to record Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats by t.s.eliot, not in its entirety, but as a selection of my favorites instead of just reading one poem at a time. And because the naming of cats was disrupted or cut off at the end, I'm going to try to read it again and then continue. So here's the naming of cats. The naming of cats is a difficult matter. It isn't just one of your holiday games. You may think at first I'm as mad as a hatter when I tell you a cat must have 3 different names. First of all, there's the name that the family use daily, such as Peter, Augustus, Alonzo, or James, such as Victor or Jonathan, George, or Bill Bailey, all of them sensible, everyday names. There are fancier names if you think they sound sweeter, some for the gentlemen, some for the dames, such as Plato, Admetus, Electra, Demeter, but all of them sensible, everyday names. But I tell you a cat needs a name that's particular, a name that's peculiar and more dignified, else how can he keep up his tail perpendicular, or spread out his whiskers, or cherish his pride? Of names of this kind I can give you a quorum, such as Monkeystrap, Quaxo, or Coricopat, such as Bumbalurina, or else Jelly Lorem, names that never belong to more than one cat. But above and beyond, there's still one name left over, and that is the name that you never will guess, the name that no human research can discover, but the cat himself knows and will never confess. When you notice a cat in profound meditation, the reason I tell you is always the same. His mind is engaged in a rapt contemplation of the thought, of the thought, of the thought of his name, his ineffable, effable, ineffable, deep and inscrutable, singular name. The Rum-Tum-Tugger. The Rum-Tum-Tugger is a curious cat. If you offer him pheasant, he would rather have grouse. If you put him in a house, he would much prefer a flat. If you put him in a flat, then he'd rather have a house. If you set him on a mouse, then he only wants a rat. If you set him on a rat, then he'd rather chase a mouse. Yes, the Rum-Tum-Tugger is a curious cat, and there isn't any call for me to shout it, for he will do as he do, and there's no doing anything about it. The Rum-Tum-Tugger is a terrible bore. When you let him in, then he wants to be out. He's always on the wrong side of every door, and as soon as he's at home, then he'd like to get about. He likes to lie in the bureau drawer, but he makes such a fuss if he can't get out. Yes, the Rum-Tum-Tugger is a curious cat, and it isn't any use for you to doubt it, for he will do as he do, and there's no doing anything about it. The Rum-Tum-Tugger is a curious beast. His disobliging ways are a matter of habit. If you offer him fish, then he always wants a feast. When there isn't any fish, then he won't eat rabbit. If you offer him cream, then he sniffs and he sneers, for he only likes what he finds for himself. So you'll catch him in it right up to his ears, if you put it away on the larder shelf. The Rum-Tum-Tugger is artful and knowing. The Rum-Tum-Tugger doesn't care for a cuddle. He'll leap on your lap in the middle of your sewing, for there's nothing he enjoys like a horrible muddle. Yes, the Rum-Tum-Tugger is a curious cat, and there isn't any need for me to spout it, for he will do as he do, and there's no doing anything about it. Mungo Jerry and Rumpleteazer. Mungo Jerry and Rumpleteazer were a very notorious couple of cats. As knockabout clowns, quick-change comedians, tightrope walkers, and acrobats, they had an extensive reputation. They made their home in Victoria Grove. That was merely their center of operation, for they were incurably given to rove. They were very well known in Cornwall Gardens, in Launceston Place, and in Kensington Square. They had really a little more reputation than a couple of cats can very well bear. If the area window was found ajar, and the basement looked like a field of war, if a tile or two came loose on the roof, which presently ceased to be waterproof. If the drawers were pulled out from the bedroom chests, and you couldn't find one of your winter vests, or after supper one of the girls suddenly missed her Woolsworth pearls, then the family would say it's that horrible cat. It was Mungo Jerry or Rumple Teaser. Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser. Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser were a very notorious couple of cats. As knockabout clowns, quick-change comedians, tightrope walkers, and acrobats, they had an extensive reputation. They made their home in Victoria Grove. That was merely their center of operation, for they were incurably given to rove. They were very well known in Cornwall Gardens, in Launceston Place, and in Kensington Square. They had really a little more reputation than a couple of cats can very well bear. If the area window was found ajar, and the basement looked like a field of war, if a tile or two came loose on the roof, which presently ceased to be waterproof, if the drawers were pulled out from the bedroom chests, and you couldn't find one of your winter vests, or after supper one of the girls suddenly missed her Woolsworth pearls, then the family would say it's that horrible cat. It was Mungo Jerry or Rumple Teaser, and most of the time they left it at that. Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser had a wonderful way of working together, and some of the time you would say it was luck, and some of the time you would say it was weather. They would go through the house like a hurricane, and no sober person could take his oath. Was it Mungo Jerry or Rumple Teaser, or could you have sworn that it might have been both? When you heard a dining room smash, or up from the pantry there came a loud crash, or down from the library came a loud ping from a vase which was commonly said to be Ming, then the family would say, no, which was which cat? It was Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser, and there's nothing at all to be done about that. The Song of the Jellicles. Jellicle cats come out tonight, Jellicle cats come one, come all. The Jellicle moon is shining bright, Jellicles come to the Jellicle ball. Jellicle cats are black and white, Jellicle cats are rather small. Jellicle cats are merry and bright, and pleasant to hear when they caterwaul. Jellicle cats have cheerful faces, Jellicle cats have bright black eyes. They like to practice their airs and graces and wait for the Jellicle moon to rise. Jellicle cats develop slowly, Jellicle cats are not too big. Jellicle cats are roly-poly, they know how to dance a gavotte and a jig. Until the Jellicle moon appears, they make their toilet and take their repose. Jellicles wash behind their ears, Jellicles dry between their toes. Jellicle cats are white and black, Jellicle cats are of moderate size. Jellicles jump like a jumping jack, Jellicle cats have moonlit eyes. They're quiet enough in the morning hours, they're quiet enough in the afternoon, reserving their terpsichorean powers to dance by the light of the Jellicle moon. Jellicle cats are black and white. Jellicle cats, as I said, are small. If it happens to be a stormy night, they will practice a caper or two in the hall. If it happens the sun is shining bright, you would say they had nothing to do at all. They are resting and saving themselves to be right for the Jellicle moon and the Jellicle ball. Old Deuteronomy. Old Deuteronomy's lived a long time. He's a cat who has lived many lives in succession. He was famous in proverb and famous in rhyme a long while before Queen Victoria's accession. Old Deuteronomy's buried 9 wives, and more, I am tempted to say 99, and his numerous progeny prospers and thrives, and the village is proud of him in his decline. At the sight of that placid and bland physiognomy, when he sits in the sun on the vicarage wall, the oldest inhabitant croaks, well, of all things, can it be? Really, no, yes, ho, hi, oh, my eye, My sight may be failing, but yet I confess I believe it is old Deuteronomy. Old Deuteronomy sits in the street. He sits in the high street on market day. The bullocks may bellow, the sheep they might bleat, but the dogs and the herdsmen will turn them away. The cars and the lorries run over the curb. And the villagers put up a notice, road closed, so that nothing untoward may chance to disturb Deuteronomy's rest when he feels so disposed, or when he's engaged in domestic economy. And the oldest inhabitant croaks, "Well, of all things, can it be really? No, yes, ho, hi, oh my eye, I'm deaf of an ear now, but yet I can guess that the cause of the trouble is old Deuteronomy. Old Deuteronomy lives on the floor of the Fox and French Horn for his afternoon sleep, and when the men say there's just time for one more, then the landlady from her back parlor will peep and say, 'Now then, out you go, by the back door, for old Deuteronomy mustn't be woken. I'll have the police if there's any uproar.' And out they all shuffle without a word spoken. The digestive repose of the feline's gastronomy must never be broken, whatever befall. And the oldest inhabitant croaks, 'Well, of all things, can it be really? Yes, no, ho, hi, oh my eye, my legs may be tottery, I must go slow, and be careful of old Deuteronomy.'" Macavity the Mystery Cat. Macavity's a mystery cat, he's called the Hidden Paw, for he's the master criminal who can defy the law. He's the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair, for when they reach the scene of crime, Macavity's not there. Macavity, Macavity, there's no one like Macavity. He's broken every human law. He breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a faker stare. And when you reach the scene of crime, Macavity's not there. You may seek him in the basements, you may look up in the air, but I tell you once and once again, Macavity's not there. Macavity's a ginger cat. He's very tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brow is deeply lined with thought, his head is highly domed. His coat is dusty from neglect, his whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake, and when you think he's half asleep, he's always wide awake. Macavity, Macavity, there's no one like Macavity, for he is a fiend in feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet him in a by-street, you may see him in the square, but when a crime's discovered, then Macavity's not there. He's outwardly respectable, they say he cheats at cards, and his footprints are not found in any file of Scotland Yards. And when the larder's looted, or the jewel case is rifled, or when the milk is missing, or another peak's been stifled, or the greenhouse glass is broken, and the trellis past repair, aye, there's the wonder of the thing, Macavity's not there. And when the Foreign Office finds a treatise gone astray, or the Admiralty lose some plans and drawings by the way, there may be a scrap of paper in the hall or on the stair, but it's useless to investigate, Macavity's not there. And when the loss has been disclosed, the Secret Service say it must have been Macavity, but he's a mile away. You'll be sure to find him resting, or a licking of his thumbs, or engaged in doing complicated long division sums. Macavity, Macavity, there's no one like Macavity. There never was a cat of such deceitfulness and suavity. He always has an alibi, and one or two to spare. At whatever time the deed took place, Macavity wasn't there. And they say that all the cats whose wicked deeds are widely known, I might mention Mungo Jerry, I might mention Griddlebone, are nothing more than agents for the cat who all the time just controls their operations, the Napoleon of crime. Gus the Theatre Cat. Gus is the cat at the theatre door. His name, as I ought to have told you before,